Hi, my name is Cassandra, and I wanted to make a video to discuss me getting diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. I've seen some videos on YouTube that I thought were really encouraging, and I was really glad people made their videos. And so it kind of inspired me to make my own, and I guess this would be part one. I'm going to make a couple different videos, but this one will just be kind of discussing me getting diagnosed and what my symptoms were before and now currently. And then the rest of the videos are just going to be really fun and discussing like promoting a healthy lifestyle and the community that I'm in and all the different things that I'm doing to kind of give me the best possibility in life that I can have since being diagnosed with MS. And I'm really excited to share some of the things that I'm doing that have worked for me. So, but this video is just again going to be about me getting diagnosed. So, I want to say that the very first symptom I experienced was 2 years ago in March. I didn't have insurance at the time, and so I was considered a self-pay patient anytime I'd go to the doctor. And I remember one day I just woke up and I started having this kind of a pulley feeling in my face, and it was twitching and numb, mildly numb. I started getting some weird, like a pulsing under my eye. It was pulsing all the time, and it lasted for about a week. And I worked at the hospital, and so some of the doctors that I knew, I would ask them what they thought. And I heard all kinds of things, from a cosmetic issue to stress to allergies. I even went to a walk-in clinic and was diagnosed with a sinus infection, which I knew it wasn't a sinus infection, but I was put on a antibiotic that I didn't take because I knew it wasn't a sinus infection. And then I eventually went to a community health center for, for lower income and people who don't have insurance. And so I went there, and, based on the symptoms, they told me that I had Bell's palsy, which, did kind of make sense. I didn't have the droopiness, but I did have like a pull and the numbness and the twitching. It was just on the left side. But it made sense. So without getting a head scan, we all kind of agreed it was Bell's palsy. And about 2 weeks in, I was put on a cyclover and prednisone. Had the symptoms for about another week or two, and then eventually it all went away. And I didn't think anything else of it. A few months later, I was taking a birth control called the Depo shot, and I had very bad double vision. I would be driving in my car and I would see 2 cars in front of me when there was only one. Why I was driving, I don't know. So probably wasn't a safe idea, but I'm alive, and so is everyone else so far on the road that I encountered, so that's good. But I blamed that on the Depo shot, and I again went to my doctor. We talked about it, decided it could be the Depo, so I went off of that birth control, and within a week or two I started noticing my vision getting better, and that was that. Last year, starting in January, I started getting some pretty intense vertigo, and I'm a Googler, which is terrible, and I Google everything, which don't do, but I did it. So I started researching a lot about an inner ear issue. The term is benign positional vertigo. It's when these little crystallized things get dislodged in your ears, and it can cause some vertigo and affect your vision. And so in June, I decided to finally sign up for my employment insurance, and I went to see a ears, throat, and nose doctor. And when I was talking to her about my medical history, I told her about the Bell's palsy, and she was alarmed. She didn't like that I never got a brain scan. So we decided that first we would deem out anything neurological wrong with me. She thought, she didn't even believe that this was the case, but she thought if there was something wrong, it could be a small, tumor, maybe like in the back area here. And, she thought if there was something that would show up, that could be a possibility. So, I went in and I got the scan on June 29th. Completely didn't think anything of it. I wasn't worried at all. Really believed it was an inner ear issue. And 2 days later, on July 2nd, I went in to get the results, and I was so sure that they weren't going to find anything. I had convinced my boyfriend not to come with me. He really wanted to go, and I just told him I didn't want him to waste his time. I would be in and out of there. Told my family it would be fine. And you know that feeling when you're sitting in your chair and a doctor comes in, and usually you expect like a grin, like, hey, how you doing? But I did not get that grin. In fact, she came in and sat down, and the very first thing I remember her saying is, well, it's not what we thought. And me being optimistic, oh, you didn't find anything. And she's like, no, actually, we did find some brain lesions. And she said the word multiple sclerosis. And, I didn't know at the time that it took several tests later to actually diagnose MS. But, sitting there with her, she told me I definitely had it because of the lesions and the radiology report. And I just remember sitting there, and it felt I felt like I was in a dream. And even still now, I get goosebumps thinking about it. I went in completely unprepared to hear bad news. And I was so upset that I ended up calling my boyfriend, and I had her talk to him on the phone and explain to him what it was she was telling me, because I felt like I would confuse it or mess it up. And needless to say, it was a shock to my immediate family as soon as we told them. And but my instant reaction wasn't depression. I had heard about multiple sclerosis because I work in the hospital environment, but I didn't know much about it. And but I felt scared, but I also felt like a sense of, it was like a challenge to me, like, okay, this is what's happening, so what can we do? So jumping ahead, several blood tests later, and I had a lumbar puncture, also known as a spinal tap, where they test your spinal fluid. And after all those tests, finally went to see a neurologist in Chicago at Rush University, which I highly recommend for anyone who needs a neurologist. My doctor officially diagnosed me in August of 2015 of having multiple sclerosis. And the whole story before my diagnosis is pretty crazy and frustrating. And I will make a blog to talk about my whole story for those of you who want to read more or hear more. But it's definitely hard when your doctor doesn't make you feel like a priority. And I remember the very first time I went to see a neurologist, he didn't give me much information at all. He led me to believe I didn't have many lesions and that it wasn't that big a deal. And the very first thing he told me, I think, was that, well, I guess you can't have kids. You might want to double check that, like double think that. And, I'm sitting there with my future husband, and it was shattering. I mean, I'm 27 years old, and here, you have to debate on having children. It's, just a few weeks ago, I thought I was indestructible. I thought my immune system kicked butt. I was never sick. So to hear that my immune system kicks butt so much, it was kicking my brain's butt, kind of, it's surreal. I don't know. It's weird. So anyway, got a lumbar puncture, which was not fun at all. And yeah, so it's been, I want to say 7 months, 8 months maybe. Maybe my math's off a little, but still fairly new to the news and the diagnosis, but I've learned a lot about it. I'm currently taking a medication called Copaxone. I have to give myself an injection of 40 milligrams Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and we change site locations. It's not fun, but I chose Copaxone because it comes with the least side effects. It doesn't give me flu-like symptoms, and it's the least severe type of immunosuppressant. It does affect my immune system, but definitely not as severe as the other MS drugs can. And I've done so much research that was the one I felt most comfortable with. I would say the only thing I don't like about it is when you give yourself the injection, it can burn like a really bad bee sting, and then you get kind of a site reaction afterwards, and it looks like a nasty mosquito bite, and it itches like a mosquito bite, and it sucks. because I personally think mosquitoes are Satan's little pets. Don't really know what their purpose is. I'm sure you do, maybe, I don't know. I don't like mosquitoes. But anyway, so the symptoms I experience now are a little different. After I was diagnosed, we did a lot more research on dieting and plant-based foods, and we've heard about an amazing woman named Dr. Wahl, W-A-H-L. And if you have MS, or if you're curious about how food can play a huge part in your healing process, I highly recommend looking her up. She is an amazing doctor who took her disease into her own hands and reversed a lot of the symptoms that she was experiencing, and encouraged me to come up with a completely new way of living. I exercise and I eat differently, and there are so many things I can do now that I couldn't do a year ago, and it's just amazing how something so dark can be such an enlightening wake-up call. And I will say that one of the things that makes this so much easier to handle is my relationship with the Lord has gotten so strong. And I believed in the Lord before, and I trusted Him, but it was always one foot in and one foot out. And I'm not saying that I don't struggle now. I would be lying if I said I don't struggle with being scared and not knowing. I've always had a fear of the unknown, but it's woken up this whole new world for me. And every day I have to really appreciate all the things that I can do, because MS is a disease that's very unpredictable, and you never know when you might have a relapse and what type of relapse it could be. And I'm very fortunate that I don't struggle like there are those who have MS who have a lot more challenges than I do. And I remember my neurologist told me, she said, "Cassandra, based on how many lesions you have, you are doing phenomenally well, and I don't know how to explain it." The symptoms that I experience now, the vision thing can be annoying. I do wear glasses because I do have like a slight stigmatism and nearsighted in the other eye, but I can go without glasses and see okay, I guess. But I do have visual disturbances. It's definitely worse when I'm sleepy. So the vision stuff's kind of annoying. That's pretty present a lot. And I think the only other thing, cognitively it does affect me. Sometimes my memory's a little weird. And hormonally, of course, what woman can't say that she doesn't have mood swings, but I do think that MS has contributed to my moods. I also have this weird thing where if I walk for a long time, or if I run, if I put my neck down like this, my feet will vibrate like crazy. It's kind of like being on a foot massager. It only lasts for about 10 minutes or less, and then it goes away. But I would say that's something that I experience from time to time. But otherwise, I don't have any numbness in my legs or arms or fingers. I don't have any pain. I don't have any bladder issues. I don't experience any weakness, really. I actually started getting into rock climbing. I really enjoy just feeling me being able to climb these gigantic walls, and right now it's wall climbing, but I'm eventually going to do the real thing, and I'm just getting really excited about it. So yeah, I do think a lot of the reasons why I'm doing so well is based on the lifestyle that I'm living, more so promoting a healthy lifestyle. And this is what works for me. I am in no way telling you that there's an MS diet out there. What works for me may not work for you, and vice versa, and so I can't necessarily say that this is what you should be doing. I do think that for everybody there's nothing wrong with eating healthier, and I will be excited to share that with you. So I don't take this disease lightly at all. I do pretty radical things just because you live once, and it's actually pretty exciting, all the things that I'm doing. So if you would like to hear more about that, continue to watch my future videos that I'll be posting. I have some friends who want to help me make some healthy, fun videos, and again, I do work at a hospital, and so some of the staff has, you know, agreed to talk, and so I'm excited to make my future videos and discuss diet and all the things that I'm doing. So thank you for listening, and comment at the bottom if you have any questions, and God bless.